Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the inaugural episode of the Rundown with Lou. So, premise of this show, we'll talk about topics, the five biggest topics of the week in the entertainment industry, and then I'll have my panelists as we'll discuss all these topics to attempt to come to a conclusion, which knowing my panelists, knowing me, will never do, but at least it'll be entertaining for everybody. So, let me quickly introduce my panelists for this episode of the Rundown with Lou. First, I have Mr. Anthony Wiggins from the Drunk Geek podcast channel on YouTube. What's going on, Anthony?
Not much. Thanks for having me, man.
Next, I have the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Jarrell Alexander, who amazingly still has a Man of Steel uh, thing over his YouTube channel that I am still amazed that he loves this movie. But what's going on, sir?
Yeah. What's going on? Thanks for having me on.
And last but definitely not least, I have Mr. Gold Belt Najir. I'm not gonna say his last name because I never get it right anyway. But what's going on, sir?
Hey man, I'm proud of you, man, for the start of this, and good luck and much success.
Right. So let's quickly jump into these topics. So the first topic of discussion is on August the 28th, we got news that Mr. Chadwick Boseman passed away from 4 years fight with colon cancer. So quickly, you all, just give me a remembrance of Chadwick, and I'm gonna start with Mr. Jarrell.
My remembrance of Chadwick? Oh
Yes.
boy. Man, like just in general, or just like with his
Just
films?
in general, in his films, in general, his work.
What do I remember?
Yes. What touched you about his work?
I think the main thing that sticks out for me with Chadwick is that is a really good question. I think the thing that sticks out for me is when he died, it was at that moment that it really sank in sort of his contribution to pop culture and around the world. Like it's weird because like when I think of Black Panther, I only think, as a critic, so I can try to judge it as accurately as I can. But I don't know, I guess it never really sunk in like how much people saw Black Panther as like a beacon of hope.
Yes.
As opposed to I don't know. It's just so interesting to me that it never really sank in until now. Because I didn't want, that aspect to overshadow like my critical thoughts, and
Yeah.
it is really exceptional to think like, damn, like a literal beacon of hope for like minorities and blacks, and this fictional form of Black Panther is gone. I don't know. That was just very striking to me when he died. It's like, damn.
Wow. So what were your thoughts, Najir?
I don't know, like I definitely been utterly emotional about it because like I when I think about when I think about what he meant for the culture, like that's one thing. But then when I think about in really into perspective about what he was doing this year, it started to hit me. Like the first thing I remember is when he went to the Breakfast Club and they do that thing, change for change, and I'm not the biggest DJ Envy fan, but like they're constantly always worrying about somebody's pockets, and and obviously this charity is for a good cause, but like outside of having him there for the interview, they're just like, so you donating, and I'm like, Chad's so laid back, and y'all coming off real aggressive, patting his pockets or whatever, and humbly enough, he was just like, well, okay, well, who donated the most? And he was like, all right, I'm gonna double that. And they were looking like, what? They was like, you're gonna donate how much? And I put that into perspective, and then I thought about the donations he made for a Black Lives Matter organizations. And I remember at one point, like The Weeknd was the highest donor for a particular charity, and then he came in and blew that out the water. And I'm like, the first thing that come to my head is like, man, them Disney checks must be real good. And then he gave back to the HBCU fund, which was another big thing. I went to HBCU, so like anytime I hear that, I think about the struggles in there, and anytime any funding is coming in, it's a big thing. And come to find out, the whole idea of like, you can't take it with you, so you might as well use it now. And I thought about like all the things he was doing. Then he ended up passing it, and he knew obviously because this is something he's been getting treated secretly for a while. But like he had a game plan on how he wanted to do this, the way he wanted to do this. It's not respected, and it's just like it's really heroic without even putting a Black Panther costume on. So like that's some real hero shit for real.
Now, Ant, I'm gonna ask you this one a little differently. Knowing your arrow expertise, what do you think his life truly had? What type of impact did his life truly have on a younger generation of up and coming minority children? Unmute yourself
Mute
first,
it.
though, Ant. Unmute
See,
yourself
I'm trying to
first.
consider it. I'm gonna keep it concise. We'll go a little bit around the block. So first,
Okay.
the first stuff that hit me was I just watched Hamilton with my daughter, and a big thing about him was like he was writing like he was running out of time, and that the amount of work he put into a limited number of years, he was making impactful films and contributions and appearances and political statements like he was running out of time, and the power that he used for facing his mortality, and how he wielded that was amazing and inspirational. And personally, the closest thing I had to a father, my uncle died of colon cancer around the same age. So it really struck me. Now I think to a generation coming up, he's going to be our Black James Dean. He's going to be that face that personifies all these different memorable characters throughout different decades of our history as a people. And for it to happen now, even his death is going to symbolize such a powerful thing for not just this generation, because this generation is going to teach their kids and their kids. He's going to be a powerful symbol going forward, and he's going to be like in the back of our minds. And do I think they should recast Black Panther eventually, someday, some years? Yeah, of course. But it's always going to be compared to this version, to this actor. He's up there with Sidney Poitier or Denzel Washington. He's there now, right? And that's the greatest work an actor can do. Now, a person that left their mark. And I think that we all feel a sense of loss. And you don't have to think Black Panther is the greatest movie or 45 is the greatest movie or anything like that. But we're mourning the loss of what could have been, the promise. Like you saw such talent, such motivation, such passion, and that struck us, that hit us. And while me, like when people were saying that Black Panther deserved an Oscar and was the best Marvel film, I was like, it wasn't the best. It had a purpose. It had an impact. It wasn't the best, but I was looking forward to what was coming next. And the closest thing I could associate that with in the last couple of decades has been when Heath Ledger died, and I was like, I'll never get this performance again. I'll never get this particular talent again. But it's even greater, right? Because his impact wasn't just in movies. It resonated, and not even just for our people, but when you talk to different people from different countries, like they did interviews for people in Korea, and he shaped a different mindset for how they viewed us, right? And that's such a powerful. So people try to brush, oh, that's a silly comic book movie, or that's a silly this or that. Wakanda's not real, but it shows the world our goals. Just like Superman it can be what you aspire to be. It can be what we aspire, are inspired to strive for. So
Well,
that's my thought on it. I know that was
saying
long.
all
I
that
tried to shorten it.
and saying all that and focusing on one part of you stating about the recasting of Black Panther. Now, we all know how the House with the Mouse is. We all know how they plan or try to plan for everything humanly possible. In your shortest answer possible, and I'm gonna throw it right immediately back to you here. Do you think Disney has already recast his role?
They have plans. So they had an article last year talking about how they've made video models of all their actors, in case they want to use them as younger and older. They have a plan now, and the technology is getting better. For whatever I might think of the Star Wars movies, we see how that technology is taking leaps and bounds. It's only going to get better, right? I think they're going to try a couple other routes to limit his exposure in the films. I don't think they're going to recast him right away, but eventually they will. The mouse wants its money, you know.
Now, now,
And Black Panther
Najir.
2 is going to make billions no matter what.
Now, Najir, I'm gonna kind of ask you the same question, but also knowing that it's a great possibility that Disney knew about his condition
Mhm.
years ago. Could we have seen the delays that we've seen with Black Panther 2 just because they were waiting to see what would happen before they moved forward?
Yeah, that's a good thing. Now, I am not ever going to conspire with anything that's happening on the social media about Disney is
Yes.
saying they are
Yeah.
all that other stuff. I'm gonna talk about what we can strongly confirm, and that's the case that him as a professional let his employer know this is what's
Exactly.
happening.
Mhm.
And why not? Because Disney has all the resources in the world. Hey, how can we help? How can we be at your assistance? And best believe anything that he touched, there was an NDA attached to him and anybody that was on set. So the mitigation risk of what if, it's not really a thing. Now it's just how if now. And they had him part of the promotional stuff already. So the idea of saying, well, let's just see how it is. Nobody wants to kill off a friend or employee, anything of that sort. Let's just see how it plays. But now that they got to this point now, I think that the delays have nothing to do with it. I think they always had the plan on releasing phase 4. I think what it is now. Because phase 4 was nothing about phase 3 and phase 2 properties. It was all about the acquisitions that were coming in. Well, how are we going to be able to confirm this Fox deal? How soon are we going to be able to dive on that? And then on top of that, you still got the Sony thing that was in peril at time. Well, all those are so unpredictable. Let's just come out with a whole new slate of all new things that is completely in our control. We don't have none of these variable factors. So that's why you got all these shows, and it shows in movies with people who had already had contracts attached to them. So Falcon and Winter Soldier, when they signed, they got 5 or 6 appearance contracts. So you already know you had them there. So go with that right now. No variable parts there. They're already there. And so all these other new things are new castings. So that's why you're seeing so many different new properties like the Internals, She-Hulk, and all that other stuff here. This is, to be honest, it sounds like a safe measure in its own from everything because this is all new. So the release is really strategical, and I think they're aware of what's going to happen. So when it comes down to Black Panther, which is going to be considered phase 5, even though they already released it because they didn't put it in the phase 4. I mean, it's phase 6 because they didn't put it in the phase 5 timeline. They'll have plenty of time to make it work. However, I will say this: I don't want to drag this along. I will say this. Now, Black Panther has made all the ching ching. Now, do you remember what other movie made all the ching ching that had no business even being in that paradise in this conversation? That movie is Fast and the Furious 7. And there's one catalyst as to why that did really, really good. Because everybody wanted to know, well, how are they going to handle Paul Walker's death? I would not be surprised if Black Panther makes an even sooner appearance on the timeline to monopolize off of that. It's Disney. You can't blame them. They know how to work the business.
All right, I see
That
your face
last
there,
5 minutes of
Jarrell.
Fast and the Furious. The last 5
What are your
minutes.
thoughts, Jarrell? I see your face the moment he said that.
Repeat the question again.
So,
am I just answering
the question is,
what I think about him being recasted?
what do you think? Do you think Disney possibly planned this. Again, as you said, we're going to assume he was extremely responsible, and Disney knew about
Sure.
his condition. Now, I'll throw another curveball at you because Najir may have forgotten.
Sure.
Black Panther 2 was actually announced for Phase 4 after the announcement of Phase 4. They came back out and said Black
Okay.
Panther would be released in 2022.
Yeah, I remember the date being there. I just didn't know that they
I
actually associated with Phase 4. That's a
It's now
5 or
it's
whatever
now
it is.
yeah, now
Okay,
is associated with Phase 4.
okay.
yeah, I can't speak to that because that's literally me just like taking a shot in the dark. But what I can speak to in regards to this recasting, um, a he has to be recast at some point. There's literally no way around that. Period. B I disagree. I'm not predicting. I'm not foreseeing. What was old dude? Peter Cushing or whatever CGI face Rogue One.
Yes.
I'm not. I'm not.
Uh-huh.
I'm not. I'm not anticipating that. I think, hopefully, anyway. I think they're gonna take the human route and realize, hey, something real fucked up just happened. We're just gonna push. We're just gonna take Black Panther, sort of sort of like delay that, sort of move that back a bit. We're not literally not even gonna think about how we're gonna CGI Chadwick. We're not gonna think about who's gonna be the person we recast to top him or be equivalent to him. I think it's really what they should do. Is what I think. But yeah, they should just push it back. Just literally just like just sort of let that go for the time being. Almost sort of like what Christopher Nolan did with Heath Ledger's Joker with The Dark Knight Rises. Let's not try to figure it out narratively on the screen. Like, nope, no, let's just find a different route. I think that's the route they
Well,
should take for the time being,
well,
for sure.
and I'll
Can, can, I,
let your
can I
thoughts
say one thing?
close out that topic. No,
Wait,
we're gonna move on to the next one
wait,
because I
wait,
already
one
know
thing.
you. It better not. It
We're
better
gonna
not
see
be about
Chadwick
Star
Boseman's
Wars.
head on a CGI body. We're gonna see it. Just accept it. You're gonna see it.
I
Most
did.
Marvel
I
characters
disagree.
are CGI
I
bodies.
disagree. Or
Well,
I should say, I hope that doesn't happen. I should say that. I hope
yeah.
that doesn't happen.
Speaking on disagreements, as we all know, this coming up weekend, finally, the release of Christopher Nolan's huge summer blockbuster Tenet is dropping. With Tenet dropping, how do you think audiences will feel returning back to the theaters? Now, I'm going to throw this one to Jarrell because he's already been back to the theaters a couple of times to see a couple of films. So, in, in your experience going back to the theaters, how did people react to being back in that environment?
It was, I mean, it was business as usual, but I mean, there's just just the weird catches. Like,
Mhm.
just everybody in a mask, just the staggered seating. Um, a lot of theaters are pretty strict around here, but to be honest with you, like it's not as weird as it probably seems. I think people are like extremely overthinking it. It's nowhere near as extreme as you might think it is. Especially like honestly, once you're in the seat, your brain just like reverts back to how it was like pre-March 2020. So
Okay.
um
Mhm.
I think it's weird trying to honestly, yeah, I think it's normal. It's normal. Obviously, not everyone's gonna rush out to go see it because of the virus, but I think more people than you would think are gonna be trying to track down tenants for sure,
Now, and
without.
do you feel safe returning to the theaters for any movie, let alone Tenet? So, it's not about your opinions about Tenet. It's about any big movie
Right.
coming out. Do you feel safe returning to theaters?
No, not really not. I mean, you're packed in an enclosed environment with people who, and theaters aren't that clean to begin with, so like there's no way they can.
Oh,
Okay. Clear. Theaters aren't that clean to begin with, so I would. And also, I mean, we think about it. Like we love movies, right? But the
Mhm.
model of the movie theater has been kind of out of date for a very long time, and most movies you don't really need to see in theaters. If you really think about it, our home systems, most our home systems are better than theaters were 20 years ago. Besides a very specific few movies, right? I'm very curious if going to the movies is such a cultural staple that it'll survive this, or people have learned to live without it. I think that'll be a very interesting thing to see over the next year or two, and how they'll adapt. But we love movies, but the average, especially the fear of the average moviegoer, I really don't see it.
Now,
But I
Najir,
don't feel safe just because people. I don't want to expose the people I love.
that, that part I fully understand. Now, Najir, as Ant said, do you believe it's such a staple in our culture and that could drive people back to theaters, or it's just going to be people saying, screw this, I want to go see a movie?
I like to draw the attention to the state of Florida, who is the beacon of humanity.
That was unexpected.
I would like to also point the finger at Governor Larry Hogan, the Republican. Excuse me, I think he's a Democrat.
He's a Republican.
No,
he's a Republican.
I know.
Republican. He's a Republican.
He's definitely a Republican. But for people don't think I'm ignorant, he's a Democrat in full Republican mode right now, and the state of Maryland is in phase 3. So, are people going to go back? Yes. This is without a question.
It depends on where. Sorry, I had to say that. Depends on where. But yeah, they going back, niggas. It depends on where. Sorry.
Yeah. At this point now, my whole logic on this is that there's going to be people like Ant, who is very cautious about the surroundings, much like myself in work. Like, I didn't trust folks with their sanitation then. I don't trust them now. And then you add the added layer of people running out, like what's the little Tasmanian dude from Wild Thornberries?
Wow, the little kid. Okay.
Yeah, the little kid. What was that dude?
I cannot remember his name, but I know exactly
Jesus,
you got people that's in the house right now that cannot wait. Donnie is going to just wanting to get out so bad, and they're going right to the theaters. And not to mention, like, Tenet is marketing to people coming back. Tenet's like, it is an IMAX. You're only going to see it here. It's Nolan. It's John David Washington, and Robert Pattinson. So, there's a lot of reasons why people's like, yo, and not to mention, everybody went to see Star Wars. When you seen that first 15 minutes of it, you're like, I got to see what's happening here. They did good marketing. So people are going out of straight ignorance and bliss. And it's just not going to change anything. And then there's going to be people. You're right about that. Then there's going to be people that's going to be like, oh, well, my man went, then I'm gone. But I understand, like, you got to weigh your pros and cons about your scenarios. Everybody's scenarios is going to be different. But for me, it was like the reassurance that I really want to see this movie. The driving experience was something I never did. So that's what ultimately got me there. But actually sitting in the seat, I can't pretend to feel like I will feel comfortable, because I just can't trust a younger staff of employees to do their job, because on a regular pre-COVID,
yes,
did they do it then? No. I can't tell you how many times I sat down, my hand is stuck to the leather seat and it's all butter. Wonder how did that happen? You've been cleaning. So, and these are good theaters too.
Butter. You pray it's butter. You don't know that's butter.
Now, speaking of all of that,
mute Ant for that one.
we know this past weekend Tenet did 53 million internationally.
Insane.
And we just got news today that New Jersey, Maryland, Connecticut are all opening up their theaters in time for the release of Tenet. I know you all may not be people who track the box office, but I'm still going to ask you all, give me a number if you think this movie can do domestically, still knowing that it's still a lot of theaters shut down. The two biggest markets are technically still shut down. What numbers could we look forward to Tenet doing this weekend? This holiday weekend, I should say. This holiday weekend. So I'm start with Najir, because you're up there throwing it up. What do you say?
300.
Wait a minute. In the US? Not worldwide. Not worldwide.
Oh, not worldwide. Ooh.
I was gonna say, my nigga. Whoa. Whoa.
I was about to say, China cooking it up right now. You can guarantee China for 150 right now. So, but I don't. Yeah, domestically, I mean, you say did 54. You mean total or added on?
Internationally, this past weekend, it did in 40 markets. It did 53 million, which is insane right now, considering the restrictions
Yeah,
in other countries.
Insane.
But when you
Insane.
look at just the U.S. market, where technically we've only had 2 films open up,
yeah,
Unhinged opened up at 4 million, New Mutants opened up at 8 million. Both great numbers,
yeah,
but neither film as big as Tenet.
yeah.
Just throw a wild number out to me that you
It,
think this movie can do.
80, because movies like Relic did really good with drive-in and
Mhm.
and because options were limited. Well, not only are options not really limited, none of these movies is as big as Tenet.
Yes.
And this is going to make everything limited because that's the only thing people are going to want to see. So about 80, 85, 80 to 85, that area.
Okay. And what do you think?
I'm not a numbers guy, you know this, but I'm gonna be surprised if it makes 30. And I say
Ah,
that because the only reason it makes more to me is if people like right now, people are sick of being in the house. So any excuse to get out
yes.
the house. So you got the girlfriend that's gonna be like, I don't even know what Tenet is. Is that about a rent movie? Is what I don't know. Yeah, I'll go. like so.
Hey,
So
Denzel's son's in it,
I
so
shouldn't say girlfriend. You got the partner. Yeah,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
I need to
There
get
you
out the
go.
house. so,
There you go.
so we've had sex in every position in every place. I need to get out.
Wow.
like,
So
so that's the only reason. If it makes more than 30, I'm gonna bank it on that. Because it's not a name, it's not a franchise. It's not the only name really is Christopher Nolan, right? That's the only name anybody's gonna know about. Nobody's going around saying
that's
That's
Denzel's
the only
son.
name
I'm
you
about to say,
need, nigga.
right.
Go ahead.
That's kind of the only name that matters. That's the only name you kind of need.
Right.
As Jarrell said, that's the kind of only
Right.
name. But Jarrell, what do you think this can do?
This is such a blind shot in the dark. I'm gonna say you said domestic only. Good
Domestic
lord.
only.
I'm gonna say 70-ish million.
Wow. Okay. Okay. So before we move on to the next topic, me being
Don't
the
doubt
number,
my nigga Nolan. Don't doubt my nigga Nolan.
me being the numbers guy, I think I'm gonna shock some of you all here by saying I'm just
Oh,
like Ant. I will be surprised if this movie does over $30 million this weekend.
mm.
Because all the limitations, unfortunately,
yeah,
the
yeah.
two biggest markets that films make money off of, both of them are closed. Because those markets are closed, and when I say biggest markets, those markets
New York
normally
and Cali.
New York and Cali normally
Yeah,
generates
Yeah,
about
yeah,
40 to
yeah.
50% of a domestic box office opening weekend. So with those
yeah.
two being closed, I can see maybe in the 20s. And if it hits 30, it would shock me. It would really shock me if this did over 30, which means to me, that means that this movie is extremely successful. If it does 30 million in our climate now, 30 million is equivalent to 100 million opening
All I
weekend.
gotta say is don't doubt
But again, I'm not
Desperate
doubting
ass.
Nolan. I'm
Don't
not doubting.
doubt Desperate
And wish
No
him
Nights.
well.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
doubting
like
Nolan because
I think
I
Lucas was with
understand.
me. Like
I
we wish him
understand for
well. We hope we're
Nolan.
wrong.
Yeah,
Like I hope
yes, I wish it does 80 million because that's a sign that a lot of these other big movies will drop this year. I just
Sure.
doubt it right now that it can do that number. But I also believe between Warner Brothers and other studio execs, if it hits 30, they're dropping
Hmm.
every movie because that's the goal for them is a $30 million opening weekend for Tenet means the box office is healthy enough to sustain a bigger film. That's the most important part. And
You never know with Nolan. He got
speaking
that
of studios being
touch.
scared or reluctant to drop big films, along with Tenet dropping this weekend, we have Disney on Disney Plus dropping Mulan finally. Unfortunately, for everyone who has Disney Plus, it is attached with a $30 upcharge to see Mulan. And again, unfortunately, because yesterday it was also announced by Disney that this movie will be available in December for free for everybody on their streaming service. So, what do you all think? What do you guys think about people paying that extra $30 to see Mulan? And I'm going to start off with Najir.
It's easy. $30 is a steal because let's see who's going to see Milan. You know, the family, the kids. If I add that up correctly, it's 15 times 4. I'm way over 30, even if I didn't know math. So $30 to see the kids movie that your kids ultimately want to see, probably more than you, because no one has Mulan in their top 5. So that just precedes all of our generation right there. $30 is a steal. Good for Disney for pricing it at a good price point that made sense. It is the equivalent to driving movie theaters saying $30 for your car or for 2 people within the car. It makes sense. You can't even be mad because what's that? IMAX movie for 2 people? Let's see. That's 19 to maybe 22 times 2. Well, you're still under your price point. So good for them.
Jarrell, what do you think about this new premium membership added to Disney Plus?
Some bullshit. What the hell y'all smoking, boy? What y'all smoking, boy? Get out of here. The fuck? Let me tell you something. I'm so crazy. I probably paid $60 to see Tenet. I want to see it so bad. But Mulan, honestly, I would feel uncomfortable paying. Shit, let me think about this for a second. I'd feel uncomfortable paying more than $10 fucking to see Mulan. I first off, I didn't even want to see the movie before the pandemic. So now that sounds crazy. That sounds crazy. Yeah, man, don't y'all pay no $30 for that
now,
movie.
now, Ed, you have children, you have young, inspiring girls. Are you going to be paying this $30 to see Mulan on Friday?
So I got one conscious girl that that won't be entertained by a cardboard box. So I think y'all need to understand the dynamic. If this was Aladdin or Beauty and the Beast, the adults, the parents are going to want to pay to see the live action version. This is Mulan with no songs, So as an adult in a recession, right, and we all got different circumstances going on, you can wait till December to see it, or you can spend an extra $30 to see it now. It's all going to depend if they reach the kid market. If they on that TikTok, they on that those YouTube channels with them opening toys and stuff like that. If they get the kids, because if my little clone comes up to me and be like, "Daddy, I heard Mulan came out," that's gonna be like, "Oh, hey, you want to get some ice cream?" So that's gonna be my metric of if I, would even, like if she, my daughter, she never gonna see this, but she got a weak spot in my heart. So if she asks bad enough, I might buy it. Right?
That's a good man right there.
Where me myself and me and my adult stuff like, what? No Mulan with no songs. That was Mulan. Mulan didn't have no battle scenes. That's the only thing I care about is the song. So I think that's if they get that market where the kids actually care. I haven't seen that yet. And I'm monitoring my daughter's social media stuff really closely. I mean, there's some, but they're not really hitting it hard. There's nothing in there that makes it seem like they're gonna, with all the other entertainment they have, it's not something they're gonna be, buying for. So I'll be really interested to see what happens after that. Does that make sense? That was kind of all over the place.
Oh, no. It made perfectly good sense. But I will throw another question at you all. Do you believe Disney releasing Mulan on this Premier Access thing is a test for their mid-tier films moving forward to see if they can get people to pay for them? And I'm throwing right back to you, Ed. Quick answer. Yes, sir.
All right. Yes, because this is the EA test, right? Where EA Games put out little they had DLC waiting for you when they released the game. That's not how DLC is supposed to work. They were testing to see if that was going to work out for you. You still going to buy it, sucker? You going to buy it, sucker? We got you twice. And so if you do this, people, if the mouse wants its money, and if you do this, the mouse is going to come back. And now Disney Plus is going to start losing. They're going to have the shit you don't care about no more. And the premium stuff you really want, you're going to start paying for. They're going to nickel and dime you. That's all I said.
What do you think? What do you think, Najir?
I'm not going to say so much as a test, more or less of a metric. If they prove success here, then other ones will follow suit. If it don't, then they'll revert to something else. I think the only thing that I just firmly don't agree with is that when they came out with their 3-year plan in marketing and sales, this wasn't incorporated for the initial stakeholders and subscribers. So that feels a little disingenuous. Now, for stakeholders, especially investors, good for them, because they're like, well, this could obviously mean more money for us. Yes. But for us, it's like, well, what do we get ourselves into actually in these? Well, if you buy for 3 years, you only pay this. Sounds like a good deal, but wait, what do we really get ourselves into? But I could just only imagine people like HBO, Max taking a look at this. They obviously have tentative things that they can do this with. I mean, bringing back sports and putting it as a tier, as a pay-per-view.
Tenet. They could have did this with Tenet.
100%. And not to mention, like, just to be very clear, this recipe has been done by the Mouse and the Boys already with ESPN Plus and UFC. So you want to watch your UFC fight?
Wait. Y'all paying twice for sport? I don't know nothing about sports. Y'all paying twice for sports?
It's a again, this tier has already been done. This design has been done. And that just showed you how much people love sports, and like they're doing good. I mean, UFC are running more and more shows now. So, but it's the ESPN Plus model with the, you want to watch the UFC 2, whatever. Cool. Add that extra pay-per-view fee, paywall behind the paywall, and people are doing it. I'm not doing it, but like it's out there.
So Jarrell, what
60? I think.
Yeah, pay-per-views are about $60 to $80.
Yeah.
Jarrell, will you be paying extra to the Mouse for content moving forward?
First off, hell no. Second off, my nigga, you best believe it's a test. You can't fool me, Mouse. Okay, best believe it's a test. What you talking about? What, you think this is like a little fleeting thought about that? No. Somebody probably made a whole motherfucking diagram, like, this works. Maybe we should try it with the next 16 movies. It's a test, 100%.
Now, 100%. Going on the completely opposite end of things, Netflix today announced a free service that they're dropping for people to check out some of their original movies and original television shows in an attempt, I'm assuming, to get a bigger audience. Do you think with Netflix doing this around the same time Disney is launching a premiere portion of their service, do you think that they're trying to, one, undercut Disney, and two, are they changing the rules of the game now and making Disney adapt to them?
I am jumping in here first. Easily, this is the biggest successful streaming service, little if you know it or not, was the WWE Network. $9.99, and that set off the market with that price tier. They have maybe like a couple of months ago went with a free tier as well. So money, subscriptions and revenue did not stay consistent here. That's why they went with that. You would think, obviously, with COVID striking and them not producing the money from live shows like they used to, it could be all types of trouble in paradise on that note. However, the next successful streaming service is Peacock. And why are they so successful, folks? Well, Netflix, who used to be one of the most successful ones, has been in all types of peril with losing contracts, and they've been getting things nonetheless. But you've seen desperation, I will say, in modeling schemes change here. They're just adapting because this is what good business people do. I don't think this has nothing to do with Disney. I think it ultimately has everything to do with Peacock, though, because Peacock came out with this model, and they were just like, "Oh, did you see how many subscribers they got in their first week? It was monumental." So I'm thinking they're wondering, well, how do we bring people back in? And I think that this watch free definitely is definitely a stride to seeing analytically how did it do. So nothing to do with Disney, but Disney probably on the other hand, like, okay, no problem. We're good on all no. Also, Disneyland's open because it's in Texas, in Florida. So, market all their gears are turning.
It ain't making money though.
Time. They're not taking a discount.
I'll throw it to Jarrell like this.
Mhm.
Do you believe this is a sign of cracks in Netflix's armor, or do you just believe
No,
this is
no.
just Netflix offering the first hit for free because you get it and then I'll bring you back?
I think this is I don't think this is I doubt that this is reflective of what Disney's doing or pick. I honestly I think Netflix is always trying to find like how can we improve, how can we expand,
Mhm.
you know, how can we make people more addictive, and this is just simply another layer of that. If anything, I think it's in reverse. I think Disney's probably the one closely watching Netflix, the one trying to outmaneuver that beast, you know? Especially like since the pandemic hit and like everything's slowed down for what we're supposed to get from MCU, blah blah blah. Um, but yeah, I think it's just them trying to keep top dog. Honestly, for real, for real.
So, Ant, what are your thoughts on this Netflix watch free?
I think Netflix has been kind of in a panic since they started losing so many other people have so many other names have put out their streaming content, and I think they're trying anything to stay relevant, right? But what are you really subscribing to Netflix for, except out of habit, right?
Sister,
Like
sister.
what's must see on Netflix right now?
Mm.
What's a must see
Like
on Netflix right now?
like
Project Power.
I mean, they got some
right
hits.
now, if you turn on
They got some
Netflix,
hits. They got some hits, though. I don't
Humor,
know
right
about
humor.
now,
like.
what have you not seen right now that's on Netflix
Kissing Booth 3.
that you okay. Alright.
No, you're right. You're right. You're definitely right.
Right. But we have Netflix. It's just a staple because every once in a while, all right, yeah, I watch the show every once in a while. But and all their unique content that we would really like to watch, they only keep for like 2 seasons and they get rid of it, right?
That
So
is true.
stuff that
Yeah.
so you have all these other options now. So Netflix, this is streaming wars. We knew it was coming. We heard it was coming. We're just in the midst of it. Who's going to get your 10.99 or whatever it is now?
Mhm.
I don't even know now. Everything goes up and down so much.
Netflix is
I don't even know what I'm paying for.
14.99. So
14.99, and then is YouTube TV even a thing anymore? Like they lost Cobra Kai, right? So
yeah, to
what you
Netflix.
What was that ever a thing?
I'm
Yeah.
about to say,
yeah.
yeah.
So and yeah, and then you have different and then if you're in different like when I'm overseas, Netflix is a lot more interesting. Like Netflix got a lot of
You
stuff that I want to
that's a
see. They
good
got Rick and
point.
Morty, Black
Mm-hmm.
Cell. They got all this other
Mm-hmm.
stuff that I can't see here in America that apparently we're subsidizing when it goes overseas. I don't know how the contracts work. They got Star Trek Discovery. They got all that stuff that people want to see.
I'll I'll
Mm-hmm.
I'll
So
I'll I'll,
Netflix
qu- I-
here,
I'll do a quick explain for that. If
huh?
the whole thing, I said I'll do a
Oh,
quick explain for everything. At least, and this is my opinion. I don't give my opinion on too many topics, but I had to here. So, Netflix Watch Free is just a chance for Netflix to push original content to people. Netflix this past quarter added more new subscribers than any streaming service. Netflix currently is trading higher than Disney, and they are now more valuable of a company than Disney
Holy shit.
is.
that's true.
Netflix, with this watch free, what Netflix is attempting to do is destroy the competition.
Uh-huh.
And the way you do it is by pushing out your original content for people for free. Again, I used a horrible analogy. If you paid attention to what I said earlier, when I said you give the first hit for free and you'll come back
Mm-hmm.
because that first hit will be so good. So they knew
Yes, sir.
exactly what to put on on the free app to bring people in. Once I get you in here, you'll pay
And
that
they have
money
the
to
name. They
stay
have
with
the name.
Netflix. Yes, because right now, again, Netflix is top dog. No one is coming close to competing with Netflix. No matter
Right.
how many subscribers Disney Plus adds,
Right.
Disney Plus can never contend with Netflix because one app is $6.99 and the other one is $14.99. It's a price difference. And right now, Netflix feels that this free service is a way to garner all the attention from everybody. And I do believe it is not a coincidence on the week that Disney is launching a movie that Disney says costs so much money to make, and that's why they want to charge people to see it. That Netflix decides to drop this app to remind people, hey, we have movies that costs more than Mulan to make, and they're for free on our app. I think it's all a strategy. But
But can I say something
go
real
ahead,
quick?
Ant. Go ahead.
The Disney app was fire the first week or two. Like I remember, me and the clone were sitting down just watching different Disney movies, different eras, and everybody was
New
talking
car
about it.
smell.
And then it slowly went down.
Yeah. Hmm.
Huh?
Yeah,
New car.
it's the
New
new
car.
car smell, the
I didn't
new
hear.
toy
Yeah.
Yeah,
factor.
and then
Oh
that
yeah, new
nostalgia
car smell.
wore off. It wore
Hmm
off.
Now
Yep.
So
speaking, because that's a good.
to me,
Oh, go ahead,
Disney
Ant.
has
I'll
to
let you finish.
justify. Oh, sorry.
No, no,
I
I'll
was
let
just
you
saying
finish.
that
Go ahead.
Disney has
Go
to
ahead. Hmm.
justify. Uh, yeah, Disney has to justify it still being in my subscriptions, right? Because the clone don't really
Mm.
watch Disney anymore, unless there's we watched Hamilton. I think that's the first time we've watched something together on Disney for maybe a month or two. I don't think I've actually logged in since Mandalorian ended, right?
Wow.
So it has to justify itself. Um, Netflix, no matter what TV you buy, the remote's gonna have Netflix on it, right? It's just a name now. It's a cultural phenomenon at this point.
Hmm?
So I'm interested to see how the
So,
war goes. Sorry.
so no, no, that's not a problem because you hit a good part when you said nostalgia is all you all agree with Disney Plus. So we have a movie dropping. I want to say 2021 here that is nothing but nostalgia behind it, hoping to get a certain audience in the door, and that is Doom. Now,
Woo.
I'm going to be respectful for what I say here. Will Doom fall with the same fate that Blade Runner 2049 fell with? And what I mean by that, because Blade Runner 2049, whether people went to go see it or not, technically it was considered a critical darling of a film, but it could not draw an audience in. Will we have that same issue with Doom? And I'm gonna start with Jarrell.
No, I don't think we're gonna have the same problem. I'll admit that it's like, damn, this fucking pandemic, dog. That's like the only thing that could cause like a problem. But it's, December's so far away. So at the current time, I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say no. Because like I think literally people would go in droves just literally based off the cast. Literally. Which is in comparison to Blade Runner 2049, 49 is like stupefying, like 2049, I mean, it was really just Ryan Gosling and Harrison Ford, really. I mean, probably really just Ryan Gosling for today's audience. But with Dune, very different situation. And then it looks like some crazy sci-fi bonkers type of thing. Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Now,
I don't think it'll mirror 2049 at all. No.
now, Ant, what are your thoughts on this project? I've never heard what you actually thought about Doom, so I'm not gonna ask you here. I just need to know:
Oh, okay.
do you think this is something that's going to translate to a bigger audience?
Don't
I
doubt the power of Dune, niggas.
I'd be very surprised. Dune, the only really good reimagining of Dune or adaptation of Dune was the Sci-Fi Channel original Dune like miniseries. The first movie didn't do well, and it got great concepts, but they didn't adapt the book very well. And you're not going to be able to adapt the book. You're going to have to be able to cut something out and make a very good story. So if the story's there, but I don't think the name recognition is there. There's not like there's a cult following of Dune
Mm.
fans, but this isn't like mainstream territory. Even among sci-fi fans, there are hardcore Trekkies and Star Wars fans that do not know anything about Dune, right? And
Fair.
yeah. So I'm not sure really who it's made for. And what's the runtime? Do we know what the runtime is going to be?
No, we know.
No,
Only
no.
thing we know is that sneak trailer dropped with Tenet, and
Mhm.
that Detail magazine released cast photos for the first time. We know
So
nothing about Doom.
this is the other thing. I feel like because of our current climate, what could make it work is Dune's really highly about strong, powerful women. There's a whole like I don't want to get into the whole movie plot thing, but and that's the
Mhm.
culture we're in right now, and great, but that might be a selling point. But I don't know, man. Dune, especially in this climate, in a normal climate, Dune would be a risk to me. I don't know, and I love Dune. like the
Wow.
book.
Wow.
Now,
That's interesting.
Najir, I know
So
you.
we'll see.
I know, Najir. I know you focus. You at least pay attention to numbers a lot, and you pay attention to audience reaction a lot. For the general audience, do you think this is something they even care about?
Not yet.
Before you even rephrase this question, my simple answer was going to be an old school analogy here, or saying, shall I say, or slogan, however you want to put it. If it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it is a duck. Blade Runner, COVID version 2020. I generally do not think people, I mean, there's a lot of razzle to this, but I think this is going to fall wayside, just like Star Trek Picard.
What?
Everybody was excited for it.
Nigga.
How many people subscribe to CBS All Access? Has anybody even realized that that is an app?
How
But I
dare
mean,
you compare Dune to fucking what was it? This shit
Sir
that you
Patrick
said.
Stewart has a cult following. Trekkies is a thing.
Yes.
How many people outside of that group of people has CBS access? Period. Forget the show. Just period.
I would say Picard is. Again, I'll interject myself here since this is the
Such an
last podcast.
unfair comparison. Good.
I'll say Picard had more going for it because again, Trekkies are huge and everyone knows about it. Even if you don't know about Star Trek, you know about Trekkies. You know about Picard even if you've never seen a Star Trek episode. I've never seen a Star Trek episode and I know who Picard is. Guess what? I found out what Dune was 2 months ago. I had the slightest idea what this is.
Yeah.
So when I see something and I'm like, well, you're spending X amount of money to make this movie that really is a cult film. And I think that's the key part. Dune is a cult film. It's a film made for a very niche audience. Exactly the same way Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah, but
It's
like
very
2049 was a sequel, though. I feel I understand the comparison. I just think it's slightly unfair, slightly
I, I think
because
I think
yeah.
I think it's actually worse that it's a remake. Because
Yes,
it being
because
a remake, you have to draw new people in. If it was a sequel,
right.
some of those people who may have seen the show or may love the original movie, they would be more
Mhm.
inclined to want to go see it.
Nobody loves the original
Unfortunately,
movie. And that
No,
has
no,
Sir
uh,
Patrick Stewart in it. That original movie has Sir Patrick Stewart in it.
I
Nobody
mean,
loves that movie. Look,
all I'll
let's
say
what
is
I'm saying. You
I'll
cannot
say
make
this. Jarrell had one great point.
what's
This
that?
is the biggest, most amazing cast I have seen for
Mm-hmm.
a film in God knows
Mm-hmm.
how long. If I'm
Yes,
going
sir.
to pay any attention to Dune, it's because this cast looks amazing and it would
Yes,
make me
sir.
want to pay attention to it. Other than that, again, I'm not intrigued by Dune. And unfortunately, I don't believe audiences will be either. But I think this has a chance to be one of those films that is great that audiences don't go see.
what's
I
the
really
Channing
need to
Tatum
talk to
movie?
y'all
What's the
about.
Channing Tatum movie where he's a space dog and he has to save that 70 show girl?
Man, don't
Um
bring up that.
I hate
Jupiter
that you are
Ascending.
bringing up Jupiter Ascending
That is
with
such a
Dune. That is,
Jupiter Ascending.
you know what?
terrible.
On,
Shit.
on that note of Ant bringing up Jupiter Ascending, I would like to thank all my panelists for this inaugural episode of the Rundown with Lou. This is great. This is the type of content that you'll get from this show. Every week, we'll try to bring in panelists. Hopefully, some of these gentlemen here will return to do this again. Maybe we'll get additional people and just talk about anything hot in the news for the week. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in. Peace, people.